Hello, everyone. Once again, starting the day by asking to see whether or not the sound is confirmed. I'm now going to be posting up the link. One moment, sending it around. Please distribute. There are a lot of us working behind the scenes, getting things to really run well. Oh, hey, guys. I want to highlight the work of JB, who I don't know if JB is using an alias for that reason, but has been very helpful in our second wave initiatives. So thank you very much, JB, for your help. While I wait for people to log in, I actually have to start sharing this live around the other pages. So please, one moment. Is there a better way for me to do this instead of going piece by piece when I start the live? I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure there's a more elegant way to go about it. Conversely, this has been the style of the face of advocacy. Question and answers will follow. Okay, so let me just post this. So if you have time right now, please share this link with people who may be in a different group or may have questions about the upcoming border changes. And in this case, I also wouldn't mind if you guys could please share it with people who are very angry. Because one of the main things we're going to talk about today are the misconceptions, maybe the misunderstandings, the miscommunications that have led to a lot of anger. And I really think it's important for us to address these because there might be a lot of anger from potential misunderstandings on what the rules are and what the pieces are. And I'm doing my best to explain this. And I'm unsure sometimes where a lot of this misunderstanding is coming from. So if we can please share this link, we will have a question and answer afterwards where we can actually address a number of things. So taking a look, hello, Amy. Thank you very much for proofreading our stuff. You are also part of the second wave, so I'm very grateful for that. Okay, let me get this out on Twitter as well. Let's see, I'll put this up here. So yes, please share amongst whoever you think might be interested. We're trying 4 p.m. today on a Saturday to see whether or not there actually will be interest in a live this time Mondays. So far our most successful ones are at nighttime on like a Wednesday and Thursday. And I'm not entirely sure when is the best time to get a hold of everyone. You'd think the weekend would be appropriate, but who knows? If anyone is an expert at this, please let me know. YouTube live happening now. Okay, so here we go. It is put together. All right, so I think we have all the pieces working. I may not be able to watch the chat the entire time we go through, but I will be able to monitor it for questions and answers as needed. So let's see, we have a number of people here. Okay, if I miss your, well, I'll get your question at the end. I'll review it all here. Thank you to Sarah, who's been with us since the beginning, I think near the beginning of the campaign, has been very active through our social media and is now part of our second wave initiative. Do me a favor, give us a tour of the wall behind you at the end of the video. Sure, we can do a tour of the wall behind the end of the video. Okay. So let me just share my screen here, one moment. Oh, in addition to that, I'll be putting a link to invite you into the Zoom for question answers if you want. I understand there might be some people here who might have something to say, and this link will allow you to join the Zoom at the end of our discussion where we could have maybe more of a discussion if you like. It's not necessary. But if you want, I would like to be more collaborative because I do think I need to get a better understanding of where a lot of the pain is coming from and how a lot of the people are feeling. Share screen. Okay. So maybe what will help is setting out agendas at the start. I'm not entirely sure. I won't be admitting anyone into the waiting room. I won't be admitting anyone into the waiting room until we're at the question and answer section, but we'll get there. So right now, can we confirm that people see the kind of agenda that I put on the side of the screen here? I don't see anything in the chat, so just waiting to see if someone can confirm that you can actually see like a Google Doc that I put out. It's right here. Click the Zoom link after for the question and answer section. Okay, thanks for letting me know, guys. Wonder how long the delay is actually. So after for the Zoom link. Okay. So first off, while you're here, if you could please share this YouTube link with other groups in the comment section of news articles on social media, because there are a lot of people who are suffering and don't realize the faces of advocacy exist. The reason why it's important is not a vanity issue. It's because the more people we have, the more advocacy will get done and the stronger our position comes to in the government. Okay, so if you're able to, please share this link to this video to those who are feeling upset or have questions, because this is the latest news about the border. This is as fresh as I can possibly get it to bring it to you guys, okay? So that's very important. If you guys can like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, again, I realize it sounds like a vanity project, but it is not. It's because we need to stay organized and focused to win in this campaign. Afterwards, I'll open the Zoom link for us to have a question and answer period to actually talk about specific issues. Hard to read, can you please enlarge? It's okay, you guys aren't meant to actually read this. I just wanted, I just wanted to have it for myself, and we'll discuss this in a moment. So right off the bat, the first thing I want to talk about is there is a lot of anger and I believe miscommunication occurring ever since Minister Blair had extended the order in council stopping travel coming into Canada for both the US border and the non-US borders, okay? So I see this in comments so often. People do not understand what's happening, and it's starting to worry me, because if we do not know the situation we are in, how on earth can we advocate to change it? So during this section, if you want to type in the chat, I'll address it, but there are a few things that I really need to get through. Family reunification is the modus operandi for faces of advocacy, okay? So our goal is to make sure that any Canadian family is able to reunite within the country. Because of that, from my understanding, this is what I've been told by the government, we were directly responsible for the extended family and compassionate exemptions into Canada in October. That's the IMM06E. So we are allowed to be with our families. Okay, that was a good thing. What happened after is they started introducing quarantine hotels. Then mandatory testing became a part of it, okay? This became our second major hurdle. About 1 week ago, Minister Haidu said out loud and on record that in July, early July, those who are able to come into Canada would be exempt from the quarantine requirements, including hotel quarantine. I independently verified with Health and IRCC, okay? So what that means is family members coming into Canada have not lost anything because of this border announcement that Blair put out on the 21st, extending the border restrictions until the 21st. And what is really confusing me in the comments is why people are outraged over that when it comes to family reunification. Now, I understand there are other things, tourism, airline sector, businesses, property owners, those things I completely understand. But on the topic of family reunification specifically, can someone in the chat help me understand the anger towards this? We'll get there to the Q&A, but please consider that, because I think there's a huge misunderstanding by the affected family members. And I need to reassure you that land, air, or sea, you will still be able to see your family with full vaccinations. And then if you actually spend the time to look at what we're doing, the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan addresses those who cannot get vaccinated and who are partially vaccinated. And that is what the time between now and January and July we have to focus on in order to get a proper operationalized plan that is good for families. So that means rapid testing if possible. That means people are able to reunite if they're fully vaccinated and they have vaccines in 2 different countries. That means making sure that there's a plan for those who cannot get vaccinated. And sometimes I honestly feel that people just read comments, but they don't actually look at the legitimate source. Maybe I'm not a legitimate source. Maybe I'm not explaining things well enough, but it is concerning to me. And if I sound irate, it's because I am. I'm unsure how I can do this better. So during the question and answer period, I think I'd like to have an actual discussion on what people are making, on what people are upset over. So Stephen, for example, I mean, you've been with us for a long time. I'm sorry, I'm assuming Husak family memories is Stephen, but we've discussed this. We've discussed that under 12, unaccompanied minors or accompanied minors are exempt from the hotel quarantine if the parents are exempt. Like this actually already is listed under the orders in council. And these are things that are starting to worry me that we are not keeping up to date. And that's what I'm trying to do, more lives and more videos. But I'm starting to hear that maybe people aren't actually watching the lives or actually aren't discussing are actually going through the videos. Denise, when it comes to the 15 days off, that's precisely what what's in the Family Reunification Board of Transition Plan. That's what we need to focus on. And then I actually brought this up specifically with health and IRCC, doing my best to ensure that it won't have a 15-day minimum stay, because that is prohibitive. But simply yelling into the void, screw these people, they don't know, blah, 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 getting angry is not productive. And to me, in order to succeed, we need to be constructive in how to move forward. And this is where I'm feeling very irate, because I am worried that members do not want to take the responsibility to educate themselves and actually advance our goals in a meaningful way. If we come off as people who are protesting, who are uninformed, we will harm our own case. The only way the faces of advocacy have been able to have any modicum of success is by staying organized, responsible, and evidence-based. So I am unsure how to make this work better. We have question and answers at the end of this, but I'm going to go through what currently is happening to try to clarify miscommunication and misunderstanding. But if we're unable to overcome that, we will not succeed. And we have all worked so very, very hard, not just the Faces of Advocacy, but other Facebook groups as well. Many people who don't know we exist, they have been sending letters and working hard, but we risk losing all of that if we lose our credibility. Credibility comes from being informed. Let me just do a quick look at the messages here. Okay. It shouldn't all be down to the bed that the border agent woke up to. That's why, forgive me if this sounds more terse. I'm asking anyone putting a comment into the chat, have you read our Family Reunification Border Transition Plan? Because if you have, I feel a lot of these concerns you will know that we are addressing, and in addition to that, have been brought up specifically with government agencies. They don't have a plan sitting in a box that they haven't revealed to us. They're working on it right now. That's why the moment from now until July is so crucial for us to succeed in order to get what we're asking to do. That's our major concern. Thank you, Stephen, for clarifying. I understand that many of the people many border agents give very different answers, and immigration oversight is something we have to do in the long term. Right now, our focus is in entrenching the issues that we have from the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan and making sure it's there in July. Moving forward, we'll get to this at the question and answer. So when it comes to vaccine debate and discussing I feel discussing something that has been put to bed, which is vaccine safety, I understand that there are a number of you who simply will not agree with vaccines. And some of you will believe that vaccines have no place in our discussion. And I think that there are many arguments that people have that are fair to bring up. But I want to make it very clear that vaccines work, vaccines protect us from COVID, and that COVID is dangerous, okay? That's my position, and that's the position of the Faces of Advocacy. Irrespective of whether or not you agree with that position, we know that the government agrees with that position. So therefore, everything we need to do has to be on the assumption that the government believes that vaccines work. Because we're working on the assumption that the government believes the vaccines work, we therefore must approach this from a policy perspective that vaccines work. So I'm not asking you to change your mind. I'm not your physician. I'm not your family member. Just please leave that debate at the door. Don't bring it into the Faces Advocacy group. Don't bring it in and have a debate that might distract from our advocacy. We must stay organized to succeed. That's the most important part. Okay. Melissa here writes that she's upset that the USA won't reciprocate family reunification, and she knows that it's not FOA's fight. So this is what confuses me. That people should realize that Blair's announcement has nothing to do with the American side. Now, some might argue that maybe Blair can convince them. But in that case, take that anger and write to your congressman or your state senator or your senator. But that's a very different thing than, I feel, focusing your anger on the wrong person. That's my concern about this. Okay. It's many people from various groups are now working on essentially the umbrella term of opening the border. Here's the challenge, though. Opening the border is something that sounds very clear, but really there are a lot of nuances that I'm worried we are not focusing on properly. So opening the border can mean that you want things to go back to the pre-pandemic days. And if you're allowed into Canada, you can come and leave depending on how long your visa, your ETA, or your US status is. Okay, that's one version of opening the border. I understand some of you want that. The Faces of Advocacy are focused on the family reunification issues of border opening. Okay, that means making it easier for families to come together. In terms of what we have, is that the Canadians, with their foreign national immediate and extended family members, are allowed to come into Canada. The problem is that there's a giant issue with the hotel quarantine, the 15 minimum day stay, and the 2-week isolation period, even for those who are vaccinated. And that's why the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan exists, to ensure that, because the government of Canada announced 2 weeks ago that they're getting rid of the quarantine requirements in July, we need to make sure that they follow through and they do it properly to actually help Canadian families. That's our big issue here. If we misstep on this, we will not have a good plan that's helpful to us. The IMM 006E was pretty good, but there was a huge misstep in having us have to take that notarized form, send it into the IRCC to have them verify it, and then for delays after delays, come back to us. We don't want another experience like that. So that's why it's very important for us to be proactive and stop these issues before they come. These are the things that we need to focus on. And if you are angry, this is what we need to actually achieve. This is what I'm worried that we're losing on. So when it comes to opening the border, there are those that affect tourists, businesses, commerce. There are those that affect families. So what I'm trying to understand is there an aspect of family reunification that is not addressed by the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan? For example, temporary residents. Temporary residents have been left behind. We have pushed so much for temporary residents and we have failed. And I am sorry that I cannot change that right now. But you are not forgotten and you are brought up every single time. Temporary residents, 100%, you guys have every grievance and nothing has changed well enough for you. There is a process for temporary residents to come together, but it's essentially June 2020 rules where you require a good reason to come into Canada, an essential reason to come into Canada. It's terrible, and we are trying very hard. But in terms of Canadian families with PR or citizenship with foreign national family members, you are clear to come in right now. Let's make sure the quarantine requirements work for us. Let me just take a look at the chat here. Bobby, who has been a great supporter for us for a long time. Yeah, frustration. I'm so sorry. Of course, it's okay to be angry, but please be angry at accurate information. And I'm worried that people are being angry without actually taking the time to educate and inform themselves on what the situation actually is. Okay. I'm not mad at Canada at all right now. I'm pleased with the Canadian plan, just frustrated with the USA. Okay. So there are groups working on the USA plight, and I ask that you coordinate with them, because commenting in anger is not as effective as getting your representatives to change. Yeah, you all have permission to be angry. People, particularly when you see people traveling. But being angry at the right thing is, I think, very important right now, because that changes how we act and changes how we move forward. Yes, Denise, we're fighting for the 15-day requirement to go shorter, but we need people to actually be writing and being effective, calling their representatives to make sure the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan is implemented as closely as possible. Okay, so there is, is it possible to have a statement on Facebook? Every person who joins Faces of Advocacy are told to read the announcements. I'm not sure any of them actually did. So right now I'm just doing the daily threads and the these lives to try to help people. Someone writes, if the video is not playing, is this still on? Okay, I'm just going to continue down the agenda. Okay. Now, when it comes to opening the border, some of you have a very reasonable grievance that this is a problem of rights and liberties with government oversight entrenching upon them. This is actually a very common public health issue. So one example is, let's say that there's someone with tuberculosis. Okay, tuberculosis is a very bad disease, can kill you, and it is truly airborne. Okay, there's discussion on COVID's airborne, but let's use the actual true public health definition of airborne. If you're in a movie theater and the guy with tuberculosis is in the front seat and you're in the back seat, you can catch tuberculosis. Okay. I understand there's a debate over whether or not that works with COVID. Okay, but I'm just going to go with TB. It's established. It's truly airborne, not aerosolized. It's airborne. So the debate is, let's say that this guy refuses to get treated for tuberculosis. Does the government have a right to put him into an isolated area? And does the government have a right to force treatment on them? Precedent is that you may not have the ability to force treatment upon them unless there are other circumstances. This is an oversimplification. But there is precedent that you can isolate them, force them to isolate. I understand completely, particularly as a North American, and I studied in New York, so I understand the civil liberties are huge. I agree. But because the risk that people can have on others due to an infectious disease, that's where the encroachment of civil liberties come in. So now the question is, what is reasonable? Before the vaccine came out, what was reasonable is very different than what is reasonable after the vaccine came out. And that is what the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan is focusing on. Long and the short of it is, yes, the civil liberties must be protected. We also have to be safe. If we knew a guy with tuberculosis was outside and the government was doing nothing to protect us, we would be upset too, because it's our own personal safety. So these are the discussions that we need to have. But I promise you, I completely understand your anger here, where civil liberties are being encroached upon. Okay, let's go through the chat here. And because I just have to keep repeating it, yes, the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan does specify for those who are partially vaccinated and who cannot get vaccinated. You're not forgotten. Okay. All right, let's go through the latest news. So when it comes to vaccinations, I realize that there are sometimes misunderstandings. And I know there are accusations that the Prime Minister himself doesn't understand the vaccines. So let's just go through it. And I'm speaking to you not as a physician, but as a member of the public. But let's just go through what people are most concerned about right now. Okay, the vaccine, for the most part, there are 2 shots. 2 weeks after you get your second shot, you are said to have the largest response. Okay, when you have a good response to the vaccine, there are a few things that you can benefit from. One is if you get COVID, the response and illness you'll have will be less. And the other one is your chances of being infected by COVID are substantially lessened. And then because of that, if you have a substantially lessened chance of having COVID, you also have a substantially lessened chance of spreading it. So if anyone is saying that you have a zero chance, that people should have zero risk coming into the country, that's just not reasonable. But it is so mitigated that a fully vaccinated person should have a lot of mobility coming into Canada, and that's why we're pushing it. So I believe that fear-mongering will be, travelers, even vaccinated, will bring COVID into our country, and that's a lot of fear-mongering. Provided we follow public health guidance with social distancing and being careful, that risk even goes lower. But I'm not speaking to you as an epidemiologist or a physician or a public health resident. I'm speaking to you just as a guy reading the news. The Delta variant, which is a concerning new variant of COVID-19, has been shown to be affected by the vaccine. So that means the vaccine can protect you from the Delta variant. So this is a trusted source to me. It's The Guardian. And while there are still vulnerabilities to the Alpha and Delta variant from the vaccines, there's still protection. And so do not say the vaccine does not work. The vaccine may be less effective to other variations, to other variants, but the vaccine still works. And that's the kind of information that we need to be cognizant of as we move forward, because there are risks when it comes to the variant. But in combination with social distancing and being responsible, along with full vaccination, these things can be mitigated, okay? Because of all this, I don't want to have further debate on vaccinations in our group, because we simply need to get what we can to succeed, okay? So either vaccine, for example, offers almost 50% protection from the Alpha variant, okay? And so 50% is better than zero, and that's certainly something. And the studies are still going on. You know, we don't know in the long-term effects of how much protection we'll have from these new variants, because variants are coming up. But we are in a good enough place that vaccination can be used in the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan to allow families to reunite in Canada, okay? Next thing. Okay, so the government has said many times that once we hit 75% first shot of vaccination and 20% both shots vaccination, we can really talk about border opening. I think border opening for them, what they're saying is the full-on tourist border opening and such. And it looks like we hit it on January the 19th. That's today, okay? January the 19th is a big stepping stone for us. And of course, unfortunately, it occurred 1 or 2 days after Bill Blair extended the OIC. OIC means Orders in Council, which you could use interchangeably right now with border restriction, okay? This is the kind of thing that we cannot allow the government to backtrack on. This is why we need to stay organized, because this will be a highlight for our Reunification Thursday advocacy letters, and this is what has to be shown. Now, goalpost moving is an English idiom saying that you tell people one goal, and then you change it when they get near the goal, okay? That's goalpost shifting, and we don't want that to happen. Now, admittedly, there can be a reasonable argument that the variants, if they're shown to be completely destructive to those who are vaccinated, there might be an argument there that this 75-20% is not helpful. But in combination with testing on arrival and perhaps maintaining of social distancing, I believe that there is a path in the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan for families to come together in a much easier way come July. But we need to work together to succeed, okay? I understand the fear of the Delta to move the goalpost. But right now, in terms of family reunification, I cannot speak for tourism or other things. For family reunification, we need to focus on this. Oh, Camille is here. I want to thank her for doing the French translation of her recent advocacy letter. I want to thank Kara for having worked very hard in the second wave. And in addition, got me this sweet, sweet ring lamp so you guys can see all my terrible shaving face. All right. Claire, I'm not too sure if you just joined the video, but we just talked about it. Please rewatch the video if you have time. Okay, so the next thing after that is, if you prefer to listen, please listen in on this radio interview I did yesterday where I talked about the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan. The public really is starting to sympathize with us more. We are doing a very good job, all of us, in getting the public to understand that family reunification is very important and should not be sidelined. Particularly when, from my understanding, the hockey team had an outbreak in their coach. And that's for hockey. We're talking families. We need to do a smart job in pushing together. Okay. In terms of other things, we worked with Brian Higgins on a statement that came out yesterday or today. I'm just trying to find it here. And this statement allowed us to actually talk about the closure itself and how it's disproportionately affecting families. We are very thankful to the government officials who've been working so hard in actually establishing these border changes in order to bring families together. Let me just find the link to this Higgins thing, 1 moment. So sorry. So we are doing our best to work with the high-level people who want to get the border opened in various ways. I think Higgins is going for the full-on border reopening. We're focusing on the families, but our goals are still the same. So we talk about how Representative Higgins has worked tirelessly to help binational families between the US and Canada. And getting her name out there in a responsible, evidence-based way is really how we're going to succeed. We cannot be out there using false information, not looking like we've prepared. In order for us to succeed, we need to be organized and we need to be smart. Okay. So let's go to the next thing here. Before we close out, I want to ask you, to all people, to please just find one extra person to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, this is not necessarily for my own vanity. It's because we need to stay organized. There are so many people, when a new announcement comes up, who have wrong information and perpetuate that. False information will be very harmful to our campaign. If we wish to succeed, we have to have the most updated information. Facebook has been helpful. I think YouTube is the next bastion of where we need to go. And for that reason, I beg of you, share this video with other people. Tell them about the Faces of Advocacy. We're at about 1.3K. I want to hit 2,000 by the end of July. If we can please do that, that would help a lot. Please help one another. I've come out to you today very irritated. I think a lot of it is because I feel I have failed. I have not been able to help every single person. The team is overworked. They try so hard, but people either do not listen or they do not read. I don't want to be confrontational, but I'm worried that we will not have the well-read, educated, and informed support to actually succeed. And that's what we need moving forward. I get this asked once in a while, how do you donate to the campaign? You don't have to, but if you'd like to, it's buymeacoffee.com/facesofadvocacy. Buymeacoffee.com/facesofadvocacy. That is how you can donate. You can tell us if you want to give it to the team who've worked so hard. You can donate for the campaign because we got a lot of good ideas coming up. All right, let's go into the question and answer. Let me get the link out here for you all. 1 moment. Okay, so if you want, join us. You will be live on YouTube if you join us for this question and answer section. If you prefer not to, you are very welcome to simply, you're very welcome to just simply watch or type into the chat. So let me get the invitation out here. 1 moment. Yes, that's true. I'm very slow when it comes to using this computer. Okay, I've put in a Zoom link in the chat. Please join if you guys want to talk. Once again, I cannot make this clear enough. If you are joining us, you'll be live on YouTube. Let's have a discussion. All right, so as the first person join, oh, you know what? I need to change my headphones. 1 second. Just confirming everyone can still hear me. Hello, this is David Poon. Can you guys still hear me? Waiting for any response in the chat to see whether or not my voice is still working after I switched headphones. The video appears to be working. Just looking for any confirmation that you guys can hear me. Can someone say something or send an emoji? Oh, the wall. Don't forget the wall. Okay, I'll do the wall right now before I do questions and answers. Can you guys hear me though? I'm waiting. Yes. Okay, perfect. The reason I'm using this gamer headset is because my favorite headset has broken after using it for the past year on Face of Advocacy. So now I'm using this clunky headset, but I do admit I miss my old school stuff. Yeah, I like the inline headphones, the ones that go directly in the ear, because it's not just so bulky. Okay, so we'll do this for fun. Sarah asked a question about seeing the wall behind me. So I'm back in Toronto, so which is why you guys haven't maybe seen this as often. But so
the only thing I'm worried about with these curtains is Orla. She's a bit of a dud deal.
So someone is speaking. Kara, I'm going to mute you, I think.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So in terms of the yes, the wall. Okay. So I'm a big fan of an American movie series called Star Wars. Star Wars is a 9 saga movie that has a number of different episodes. And what it does is it focuses on the storyline of some characters who are having an intergalactic battle through space. And so what their weapons are for a particular sect of characters called the Jedi and the Sith are lightsabers. And lightsabers are these little weapons that are made powerly of light and crystals that allow you to attack one another and to succeed. They reflect bullets and lasers and stuff. So I'm a big fan. So I have a number of these things. And yeah, this is my life. So I've got a number of them. My favorite one is the top one, which is a character called Darth Maul. He is played by a man called Ray Park in a 1999 movie called Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Big fan of that movie. I know most of you who know the Star Wars will hate it. And then I've got other ones like Darth Vader's, Luke Skywalker's, Kylo Ren's, Yoda's. This one, Anakin Skywalker's. I got these little chopsticks that are actually lightsabers. And then on the wall are a few things such as comic book art. I'm a big fan of American comic books. So the top one, for example, is Captain Canuck Zero, and the author of it drew my face on the cover, so it's a special edition there. So to Dr. Poon, and that was me during my skinnier days. The Death of Archie is an American comic book character from the 50s who very much was a very big part of my childhood. I love reading those comics. This is a gift that my partner AJ got for me. She got the artist who did the Life of Archie, as well as the Death of Archie comic series, Fernando Ruiz, to do, and this, I just love this thing, a specialized drawing for my partner and I, with my teddy bear who I had since I was born, along with the background of my couch and my MacBook. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but entirely in the style of Archie. So that's something that matters to me. There are other cool comic books too that I like. I like The Secret Six by Gail Simone. The Superior Spider-Man by Dan Slott. This is way too nerdy. I'm going to stop talking right now. And then I think, yeah, you know what? I'll share it with you guys. So my grandmother is very important to me. She raised me because my parents were working quite a bit. She would work from, my parents would be working from 10 till 10. They're both family physicians. And so my grandmother was there, always taking good care of us. And I guess this is something that I'm sharing with you guys. So, she's a Buddhist, and this is the one thing I have of hers. It's her prayer book. She would pray every day, multiple times a day, and yeah, she's someone I love very, very much. She passed away about 6 years ago in Malaysia. My family's from Malaysia, and I'll always love her very, very much. So family has always been essential, and I've always had a long distance element to to my family life, um, and I can't imagine the amount of pain that a lot of you are going through still, because COVID has taken so much and taking away those moments. I see John McCall is in the chat, and he suffered a great deal, as many of you guys did. John says, may the force be with you. That's funny. All right, question and answers, guys. So there's the chat here. Let me scroll up and see what has been put into the chat here. Yes, your little red number notifications give me anxiety. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of emails and notifications I should actually address. Hope family reunification is reciprocated in the US, and happy the other congressmen suggested unilateral opening. That would put pressure on Trudeau. Okay, but that's all the US stuff. In terms of our people, the face of advocacy, we are doing our best for our people, and I don't know what more I can do sometimes. Right now, we got to get the family reunification border transition plan through. Like that's a huge thing. I'm in contact with MPs who are working for us, including Nathaniel Erskine Smith, who is a wonderful advocate for all of us. I'm seeing the IATA, the International Airline Transport Authority, soon on Monday to try to work on things. There's a lot that we have to be able to do, and we have to stay organized. There is an FAQ on the website for summary, for people to go through. People, I swear, people do not want to read, and that's starting to really irritate me. Is there any way to get the 15-day vaccination shortened for all categories, not just the fully vaxxed? I'm not too sure. That's not a win that I think we can get right now. For the fully vaxxed, that's something we can do. For the partially vaxxed, I think we can do. In terms of those who cannot get vaxxed, I'm unsure. I do know that will happen. Sorry, I'm very confident that will happen once we have a higher number of herd immunity of fully vaxxed people. But following the guidelines that were given by the government of Canada, no quarantine time for fully vaxxed and negative, and then no quarantine time for the partially vaxxed as long as they're negative, both pre and post, and with a follow-up, I think. And then for those who are unable to vaccinate, I think they say with testing, it's a 7-day run. So we're asking them specifically to get rid of the 15-day minimum stay. We're also saying that there has to be a plan for those who are unvaccinated, and the government's own experts have specified how it could be done. Whether or not they do it, I don't know, but it's in the family reunification quarantine border transition plan. Okay, anyone on the chat have any questions? All right, that was a good live. I'm sorry that I spent most of it being irate, because I am. The position papers are online. I can show you where they are, but yeah, the FAQs need update. That's a good call. So, okay, I'll show you guys how to check the FAQ on the websites. How to see our position papers on the website. So let me just share here, one moment.
David?
Yes.
It's Debbie speaking.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi. One of the things that I keep on reading on a couple of the different Facebook forums, maybe less so on the Faces of Advocacy, but I know on the hotel quarantine, are issues with Switch Health. And I'm just wondering whether or not that's something to be bringing up with the government as we move forward. That we really want some assurance that people who are testing on arrival are not going to be waiting 14 days for their test results. And that's a big concern, especially as more people are traveling. There's going to be more pressure on the testing labs.
I want to first highlight that Debbie is a great friend to the Faces of Advocacy. She's been with us since nearly the beginning, if not the beginning. And she also is very good because she and I have had differences in opinion that we worked through things and really made the campaign better. So I'll always be grateful for your help, Debbie.
Thanks, David. I'm grateful for yours.
So we are always happy to have wonderful discourse in the Face of Advocacy, as long as it's evidence-based. If you're pulling out some source that makes no sense, that's when I get super irritated. But you know, the friendship that Debbie and I have is exemplary of how differences in opinion that's evidence-based and thought out and well-read can lead to a much better campaign. There are many people in this chat who we've had that kind of conversation with. In terms of Switch Health, so Switch Health has a direct line with me, and we've actually been, people who email me their Switch Health issues, I actually get their issues addressed. I probably should make it more specific, but if you right now are having Switch Health issues, email me poon@facesofadvocacy.com, poon@facesofadvocacy.com, because Switch Health has been quite responsive. They are aware of the number of those issues, and I think they actually addressed a lot of them about a month ago. There are still some outlying ones, but the thing is, some of the outliers have also, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think they necessarily followed the procedure properly. And so for those guys, we'll try to sort it out. So please message me if you are an outlier, poon@facesofadvocacy.com to have this addressed, because Switch Health has been responsive to my emails. Thank you, Debbie. Any other questions? Oh yeah, sorry, useful links. So this is how you can find the Family Unification Border Transition Plan. If you just go to facesofadvocacy.com, scroll down to useful links, and then Family Unification Border Transition Plan. And yeah, we need to update the fact. We need to update the website. And I've been talking to my to our Chief Technical Officer and our Director of Public Relations to make that a little bit better. Please, everyone, I beg of you, read the Family Unification Border Transition Plan. Okay, let's go through here. What are people saying in the chat? If there's anything left, if not, we'll close this up. Going through the chat here. Fun question. What's something you've grown to love that you have learned during the face of advocacy? So thank you to Stephen, who has been with us for, I assume this is Stephen, whose family has suffered a lot during the pandemic and has done a lot of contribution. What's something you've grown to love that you learned during the pandemic? I had never expected to put my face out here when it came to the campaign as a physician. And I don't know how many of you know this, but I was also a professional stand-up comedian. The challenge with having two different lives in the public eye became very detrimental to my medical life. For example, I've had patients come to my comedy shows. I've had those in my comedy shows later become my patients. But this actually became an issue for some of my bosses. So I did not expect to put my face out during the campaign. And then I saw brave people such as Dr. Ashley, who has been with our campaign, so who helped inspire the start of the campaign. Seeing her as a physician, putting her face out there really put me forward. So if the question is, what did I grow into love? I'm not entirely sure I love putting my face out here because it's exhausting. But what I have learned is that all of you guys have been so brave. You put out your stories. You guys talk about the pain that you've endured. And so I've learned to love that there's a community of people who can inspire me. And that's something that I just hadn't quite considered until we got to this point. So your family, Stephen, the McCall family, all of you guys who've shared your stories, it's very humbling, and I'm very grateful for that. This position that I am in right now, working with the team and with the campaign, is something that has brought me one of the most rewarding parts of my entire life. And I really thank you for that. But do I love that I'm up here most days telling people to read and, not link fake news and stop arguing over vaccines? No, I don't love any of that. But I do love the fact that I got to know you all, work together with a fantastic team, and press forward to really help a lot of Canadians who are not able to advocate for themselves. What do you think we're going to announce Monday? Monday, I'm guessing they're actually going to announce, I don't know for sure. This is not based on anything that I know. If I were a betting man, I would say Monday would actually show what the reduced quarantine requirements will be. That's my best guess. Switch Health has gotten much better recently. Okay, we can probably rename useful links to position papers or something. That's probably very helpful. You think everyone knows what Star Wars is. That's true in North America, but we have a lot of international people, and I'm not entirely sure they know. The government doesn't have a plan. They've had more than enough time to prepare one. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried about this because the priority strategies that the government produced from their experts, going through the government records, their last draft was April the 7th. Of course, that's a draft, but that's April the 7th. That's quite a bit of time that they knew this was coming. Do I get free comedy tickets after all of this? You need a good laugh. The problem is I'm about as good a comedian as I'm a doctor, so it's pretty bad both ways. I don't know, maybe we can do a show. I'd like to meet you all at one point. We are going down a route the government continues to create complexity, more complications. We should have the freedom free from government intervention. Look, I don't know, shaking to if you've read the Family Reunification border transition plan, but we are asking for the least amount of government intervention. We're saying allow us to either approve our vaccinations through the ArriveCan app or show it at the border or something. We do not want a complex process like the IMM 006E. That's as far as I can say it. The MPs don't reply sometimes. That is true. And we're going to have to remember that during the election. That's our next, we'll talk about that later, another day. But those MPs who are not doing their jobs must be held accountable, no doubt. But I can tell you right now, even if your MP has not been responding to you, we have made a significant impact. You know, I spoke to Minister Freeland's people, and they know the faces of advocacy. That's the Deputy Prime Minister. I realize a lot of you are feeling alone. You guys are feeling that you have no impact. I promise you, you've had an incredible impact. The U.S., the problem with people coming into the U.S. right now through the land border is because the face of advocacy was a Canadian campaign, and we did not focus on that. But we have something that very few countries have. We have this extended family exemption. Other places, they might have partners and fiancés, but we got grandparents, we got siblings. We have a huge impact for family reunification that other countries simply do not have. And so for that, I want you to remember, shaking too, that the impact of one person and one letter is enormous. And I'm so proud of all of you. You guys have just done incredibly. Don't you feel like this is the government's job? They should be paying me. Citizen advocacy is the place that we're doing it. The entire team are working hours similar to a part to full-time job. And so the entire team are just so grateful. If you want to donate to the campaign, please find us at buymeacoffee.com/faces of advocacy, because then you're able to donate if you want to. If you can, you don't have to. We'll continue to fight for you. In terms of doing the government's job, the ministries, the workers themselves have worked so hard. I've gotten to know them. They're in an impossible position. They are being told one thing by the government ministers. The public is against them for different things. They get a lot of flack. In terms of doing the government job, a lot of the government workers are doing their job. In terms of us advocating for what we want, there is a long-term plan I'm working on, but we'll talk about it a different day. Okay, if there are no more questions and no more things to discuss, let's leave it at that. Please help one another. People have a lot of false information. I'm begging you, if you can, find one more person to like our YouTube account. Share this link to those who are the most angry, the most disturbed, and the most upset at the recent announcements, to give them clarity that family reunification is still going to be okay in July. I feel if you can help people understand how to read, this will help a lot. And if they are ESL and English not their first language, I beg of you, help them too, because they are suffering as well. As for those of you who are not reading at all and wanting other people to do your work, please, we're exhausted. All right, talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful day.